Harmony. Welcome to Spark TV.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the invite and thanks for having me. Merry Christmas.
I know. Merry Christmas. Well, everyone will be listening to this in January. So, Christmas for us in that kind of semi wind down, semi not wind down period. And then this will come out in January when everyone is kickstarting their 2025, if you can believe it.
Oh my gosh, how exciting as well for all the business owners out there. Probably scary too, like I totally get it, but also just exciting, just an exciting space to be.
Totally exciting. And I'm calling it, and I've stolen this from someone else, but apparently 2025 is going to be a breakthrough year. So if you are listening to this, this is our year.
Oof, you heard it here first. I love that.
So good. Let's start out by telling everyone who you are and what you do.
Amazing. I'm Harmony. I run a business called Harmony Jade after my own name. And I'm actually a business mentor and I help wellness and lifestyle brands in the service-based industries build, start and grow their businesses. So I'm really passionate about building a soul-aligned business. And I know it probably sounds woo and it probably sounds cliche. I am also a yoga teacher, so that's partly why. But I'm about creating an energetically sustainable business. I've previously suffered career burnout with a nervous breakdown back in 2018 in my former career as a retail operations manager. And I just know that more business women could actually be running businesses with so much less stress, pressure, and health issues if they could actually just find a sustainable model that worked for them. So that's what I love helping new business owners with.
I love that so much. So it kind of sounds like a period of burnout kickstarted this little adventure.
Yes, it did. It did.
And what happened? What was life like for you then?
Yeah, so I'm actually originally from Melbourne. I grew up in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne, and I've pretty much been a retail and fashion nerd since I was about 14. I studied clothing production and visual merchandising at RMIT,
Cool.
and I absolutely loved it, but I hated being in a classroom. So when a opportunity, I was at Suzanne at the time, actually came up to become a manager, I jumped straight in and I actually loved working. From the day I started working, I just wanted to be surrounded by fashion. I thought, what's the point in designing stuff when I could literally be helping women, dress to impress, like now. So I got into management really young. I was probably about 18 when I got my first management role. And then, fast forward to the back end of 2018, I'd worked for some of Australia and South Africa's most iconic brands. So Cotton On, Adairs, Suzanne, Mr. Price, South Africa. I just felt the pressure after sort of 20 years in that industry. Business was moving more and more online. It was losing its personal touch. I found myself getting more and more frustrated with the way these bigger companies were going. They were less personable. They were, all getting on the stock market, and they were no longer, independently owned, which, for anyone that has ever worked in a business that's transitioned through that, it's a completely different world. It's exactly like us small business owners now, how we compare ourselves to the big corporations. That personal touch is super important. And I really just felt that, and not to mention, had worked 20 Christmases with 2 phones, 3 a.m. retail trade in Melbourne at Chadstone Shopping Centre. Like, it's just not conducive to a good time or a life or a lifestyle. So I pretty much had a nervous breakdown and started noticing that my anxiety and depression was just like, all the time. I was getting to work. One particular day I noticed I got to a shopping centre. I pulled up in the car park and I kind of like snapped out of almost like this trance state when I pulled on the handbrake. And I realised that I'd gotten all the way to work without actually knowing how I got there. It was fucking scary. Like, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this podcast, but
you absolutely are. Go for it.
It was so scary because I just thought, shit, when did I get on the freeway? When did I get off? How many red lights did I run? And I was like, okay, something here needs to change. This is not good. Like, I could have killed myself. I could have killed someone else. I started speaking to team members in a way that wasn't really me. I started sounding like an absolute asshole. And I was like, oh my God, I've become one of them. And that was my worst fear, is that I would end up like, the general managers of the businesses that I work for. And I just thought, no, something's got to change. So I had to break that Easter that year. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay, what am I going to do? And I had seen this little combi van, you know, those wicked vans with the terrible spray painting on them.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, when I was on holidays. And I said to my friend, do you think I could do that? And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, get one of these vans and just fuck off, like just go and, you know, have a trip and just disconnect and just go and do whatever comes. And she was like, well, I guess so. So it kind of escalated a little bit from there. I actually went back after my holiday to New South Wales, then went back to Melbourne, put my house on the market, and bought a caravan, a new car, and within 8 months had quit my career, sold my
Wow.
house, and that was it. I just committed to making the change. And everyone was like, oh, so did you plan for it? No, didn't plan my trip around Australia. I just knew I was going north, wherever the sun was going. Oh, that was where I was going. And that's how I ended up landing in Perth. So I now live in Perth because it has more daylight hours than any other state. I researched that was the thing. I wanted the
The
sunshine.
best. Yes.
Um, and along that trip, I found yoga, and yoga has really what kind of like also helped change my life. So when I started practicing yoga on the road, just noticed my nervous system was just, I was so calm, I was more grounded, I wasn't stressed out all the time, because when I first started hitting the road, it wasn't easy to switch off. Like I was used to being on 24/7, accountable to hundreds of team members and that sort of thing. And so I was just switched on all the time. It was really, really hard to decondition. It's like a full process in itself. And so it took some time, and yoga really, really helped me through that process. And yeah, that's when I ended up doing my yoga teacher training when I got to Perth, because I thought, come hell or high water, I'm not going back to the hustle in Melbourne. It's just not happening. And so I did my yoga teacher training, and then the pandemic hit.
Oh
So
my God.
so started teaching yoga online in the pandemic on Facebook groups. And then it's kind of just evolved since then, where I've kind of just been calling in people that are, you know, feeling what I used to feel. And that's that anxiety, that overwhelm, the pressure to perform, you know, the self-judgment and the comparisonitis that comes with being a business owner or being a businesswoman or a high performer in 2024, in this day and age, or 2025, where, you know, we just feel like we've got eyeballs on us all the time. And so now I've kind of used my yoga philosophy and my wisdom from my learnings and my own lived experience, coupled with my business knowledge, to go, okay, cool, we could actually do business so much better. And we could all be working less hours. And we could all make sure that we don't suffer mental health problems. You know, clients that are under 50 having heart attacks, like it's a problem, like it's an epidemic in itself. And yeah, so that's how I got here.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, it's a really awesome story, and good on you. I mean, good on you for just going. Now, I feel like during the pandemic, there was a few more people who kind of packed up everything and went on these little life journeys, but doing it in what, 2018, did you say?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, there would have been a lot of role models, like a lot of people that kind of had gone before you. So good on you for just going, that's it. I've had enough and there's got to be a better way.
Yeah, thank you. And, you know, I am a all or nothing kind of person. And a lot of people are like, well, how did you make the jump? And I just thought it it can't get much worse. You know,
Yeah.
it would have been worse had I stayed in the position that I was, because my mental
Mm,
health was really not in a good place. And we all know where that can go, and that's not a good place to be. And
yeah.
I don't want that for anyone. And so it was like that or something better. Like
Yeah.
I just had to trust that there was something better out there. And yeah, I actually love my life now. You know, I
Oh,
live
that is.
near South Fremantle Beach, if anyone knows that, and it's like the best location in Perth. And yeah, I love it.
Oh my God, that is so incredible. So, if somebody's listening and they're relating to the burnout, the unaligned life, the everyday's a misery kind of vibe,
Mhm.
do you have to sell everything, pack up your life, and move across the country? Or is there a way that we can move towards an aligned business?
Oh, there's 100% a better way to put it than what I did. I would highly recommend people travel Australia though. Like they're like, oh my God, what a beautiful country. Like you would have to go a long
Mm,
way to find, you know, better scenery than what you can get in Australia. Like it's just such a diverse landscape. But really, I think it's small micro changes in everyday life. And I'm not talking about a 20-step morning routine. Like, that's not going to serve everyone. Sometimes people don't like that. And what works for me might not work for other people. But I know that through the practice of yoga, it has brought me, again, probably sounds really vague and woo, but it has genuinely brought me back to who I am, and it has reconnected me with me and helped me let go of who I thought I needed to be
Yeah.
to, be loved and appreciated and valued in a work scene, in my family, in my friendship groups, all of that. I now know who the fuck I am. And if I'm not for you, I genuinely mean this with all loving kindness, like I don't care. I'm okay with that. I can sleep at night knowing that I'm a good person. And
Yeah.
I just know that by doing those sorts of practices and finding that self-leadership, like there's self-care, but then there's self-leadership, and it's like owning who you are and how you're going to show up in the world. And that's a decision that you have to make. And so I think that the longer people sit in the mess of overwhelm and people pleasing and procrastination and serving others before themselves, even though it sounds lovely, long term, it's not sustainable. And it's just going to mean, long-term pain down the track. And that might be a nervous system crash. It might be a heart attack. It might be, you get committed to a business or a person or attached to that thing, and then that thing disappears and you lose your whole identity. So I think small changes every single day, and just knowing that, you have the choice, but taking the space. Like, if you've got space, you'll find the awareness, and you can't actually make a change without the awareness of there being a problem in the first place. So if something doesn't feel right, if something feels out of whack, like, sit with it and stop filling up all the space and just go, okay, cool, what's not actually working here? What are my options? Because there's always another option, like always another option. And it doesn't have to be selling your house and traveling around Australia to
Sounds
go
pretty
on
exciting though.
the self-development journey of your life. But maybe it's just starting, one thing. Maybe it's like literally just taking 3 breaths before you open your laptop every day. If you want to do yoga or meditation and all the things, like, obviously I would highly recommend it.
Yes.
But just small incremental changes to switch out bad habits with ones that serve you better.
I love it because it's so simple, right? I think that half the problem or part of the problem is that we feel like it's so overwhelming. You kind of get to that stage in business sometimes where it's like, I've kind of dug myself a giant hole. I built this business. I don't love it. I don't love the people that, you resent the calls you've got to get on and the clients you have. And sometimes it feels like, the only solution is burning it to the ground, which you go, I can't do that because I've got a family to support and I've got this and I've got this and this. I actually love that. Sit with it first. How about we just stop and take a breath and then make really, really small adjustments or small changes or small additions. It just makes it feel more accessible to people.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that could even be as simple as, oh my gosh, like, I'm getting fully booked. I'm so busy. And like, it's stressing you out,
Yeah.
to, you know what? I'm actually going to serve 2 less clients a month and put my price up a couple $100, and, win back some hours where I can go for a walk
Yeah.
at the beach, or take up Pilates, or, do the thing that you have sacrificed for more clients, right? Because you're telling yourself the story that you need more money. But do
Mm.
you, like, or is there a better way to actually get the thing that you want? Like, we definitely make it too hard.
Totally. And even like setting boundaries, right? So sure, maybe you can serve that volume of clients, but you don't have to do it every day. Say, I am available Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I don't do meetings on Monday and Tuesday. And if you want to work with me, that's how I show up. That's how I'm available. I do that with, actually, I do that. I do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because I just find I like to just clock in late on a Monday. I like to have Monday mornings as mine, and I like to clock out early on a Friday.
Yeah.
I like a champagne in my hand ASAP on a Friday afternoon. But the world doesn't end when you set those boundaries for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree. I also only serve clients Tuesday through to Thursday. So that's
Yeah.
funny. I have my CEO day on Monday, and on
Yeah.
Friday, it's either a self-development day or it's a day off.
Yeah.
because sometimes I run yoga events on Friday nights every now and then. And so, if I'm running an event at night, like I'll just take the whole day. And I just, the quickest way for me to get grounded is to go for a walk on the beach, get myself immersed in the sea, the sun, all the things, and just take that space. Like, otherwise, why would I have just switched from working in corporate where I could have done the same hours, and it would have been so much easier for them to do all the marketing and all the things. But if you're going to work in your own business, and like we do that because we want more leave. I was talking to a client about this on a call this week actually, and she said, I wanted to start running my own business because I didn't want to work 9 to 5 anymore, but I also wanted more than 4 weeks annual leave a year. And I was like, how much holidays have you had this year? She was like, I've had less than 4 days.
Oh my God.
Like, it breaks my heart for that. Like, it's like, are you home or are you living at work? Because that's how most people transition, and it just doesn't have to be like that.
Oh my God, I've never heard anyone say that before. Are you living at home or are you living at work? When you work from home, that is such a trap, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Especially if it's in the lounge room like mine.
Yeah, totally. Same. I've just moved actually in the last 6 months, and it's such a better setup because there's an actual door that I can close. I'm just pointing here like people can see where I live. This is silly. But there's an actual door that I can close, and it kind of separates the house. And oh my God, just not seeing my mess of an office desk that is covered in Post-it notes is life-changing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
I love it so much.
We'll be there tomorrow and it'll still get done eventually.
Oh my God, it is so true. That's those things will not leave my to-do list. But tell me, how did you grow the business? So obviously you've gone through this period of transition. You're figuring out what you want to do. It's working. You love it. How did you start to grow that into a profitable, sustainable business?
I think that one of the things that I got really good at in my former career that has been a really, really good transferable skill has been able to put something into a process and then figure out that, like, put that process into practice, see if it works, and then actually just adjust and change it. So just before we hit record on this, actually, I was just saying that I had been trying a new lead strategy this week, and I always test everything that I go and give my clients to do. And again, this was just a process. Like, this was like, cool, here's some leads coming in. They're coming in through a certain funnel. Here's how I'm going to contact them. I'm going to contact them differently, which this week happened to be phone calls, some old school marketing here.
I love it.
And I'm just testing it. And it's literally just a process. And I think if you can articulate the process, or if you can envision the starting point and the end goal, you're just breaking it down into micro steps, and that's your process, right? Then implementing the process and adjusting it over time. What's working, what's not working. And I don't know, maybe I'm making that sound too simple because I've been doing it for the longest time in other businesses, but I think that when I started my business, I was like, okay, cool, here's the result I want people to have. This is what I want business women's lives to look like. I don't want them to be stressed. From my knowledge, what tools and resources do I have, and how can I put it in words that they understand, and it's a process that they understand, that they too could do it. So, for example, just how I changed from being stressed out leader into becoming a yogi and going, okay, cool, this is how I'm living my life now, and what did I actually learn? I literally just wrote down what that actual process was and was like, okay, cool, well, let's just get a few people and see if this process actually would work for other people, or was it just me because I was from corporate? No, turns out it works for everyone, and you can rinse and repeat that. But I think for a lot of business owners starting out, they also overcomplicate the starting point, and you just have to give stuff a shot. Like, I'm a curious person naturally, so I just try and figure stuff out. And when I got to a point where I couldn't figure out anymore, I didn't know what, maybe systems or platforms I needed, because I'd always worked for corporates, so they always have their websites done and all of that sort of stuff. Then I enlisted in my own business coach. So I've had business coaches pretty much since I would say within the first 12 months of starting my business, just for all the stuff that I don't need. And I think that with business mentoring as well, it's like, take what you need, leave what you don't. Don't overthink what you need from the person. If you get what you needed from the person, great. Like, move on.
Yeah.
So yeah, just I guess processing and systemizing, my knowledge into something that is tangible and solution orientated for people to implement in their lives too, really.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I also love that you said, maybe this is too simple, but it's like it should be simple, right? You're so spot on. I think as business owners, we're kind of seeing too big sometimes. So we're going, oh my God, I want to be a billionaire. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. How the heck am I going to do it? And it is that really distilling it into those daily actions, the process, the system. And also, it doesn't have to be perfect on day one. What you put out on day one does not have to be the same thing that you put out on day two. Like you are allowed to improve it, right? It's
Mm.
actually, that's my word for the year. I'm excited because I only just figured it out last night. It's elevate. So it is, so, I always talk about constant improvement and optimization, all of that stuff, but I've really resonated with the word elevate this year because it is that how do I just make everything a little bit better? That system a little bit more efficient, the podcast studio a little cuter, the technology a little better, the whatever, whatever, whatever. Um, but it all comes back to just those tiny, small increments.
100%. I think the Japanese call it kaizen. Is
Yes.
the
Yeah.
1% micro improvements, and I 100% agree. It's like, okay, cool, this is working. How can we just polish it? Like, how can we
Yeah.
just make it that extra little bit better? I was talking about this with my clients at a VIP mastermind the other day, and it was like, cool, so your process is good, but like, what would make it so good they would never want to leave you? Like,
Yeah.
what are those like tiny little 1%ers that no other business is doing? And again, like we were talking about just before, like the snail mail Christmas card, like just that first
Yes.
touch that's like no one else is going to be doing that. Like the big brands people are buying with and the big, corporate companies, like they're not doing that. So like how can we as small business owners just bring that personal touch? Service is not dead. Service is not it's dead in a lot of places.
Yeah. And
Been
it's
shopping lately, it's definitely dead in a lot of places, but it doesn't need to be.
Absolutely. And I think, to your point, even about the old school marketing, the actual picking up the phone and making a phone call, that is why stuff like that works because we're all just became obsessed with TikToks that we forgot about the fact that usually our customers just want to feel seen and
Mhm.
heard and valued and appreciated and like they got the thing that you actually told them they would get.
Yeah, absolutely. And people will give you the attention back in the form that you give it to them. So if you're giving them attention in the form of, Instagram Reels, then they're going to watch more Instagram Reels. If you connect with them in person and they love it and you provide a great experience, they're going to want to come back and connect with you in person again. If you give them a call and they love the connection on the call, they're going to want you to ring them back again. So it's like however you give them the energy, they're going to want more of that. So you get to decide. So many business owners are like, I hate being on social media, and yet they just keep feeding the monster. Do you know what I mean? They're going to be there forever.
Totally. Yeah, it's like if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Find the thing that you like doing and find where your customers are and just do that.
100%. I don't have funnels built in the back. Like I've got some automations, but I'm not doing like the full, funnel thing in the back end of my business. I'm a people person. I want to communicate with them. I don't want everything to be systemized and optimized in my business like that because it doesn't feel congruent for me. It might feel congruent for someone else, but it doesn't align with my values. So yeah.
Yeah, I just think sometimes we get trapped in this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what business is supposed to look like. This is, I'm supposed to have an office. I'm supposed to have a 20-man team. I'm supposed to have all of the funnels. I'm supposed to be an influencer. Like it just feel like it's that comparisonitis, we get all of these ads, all of these social posts, and we just go, oh my God, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. But I love that idea that it's like you don't have to do everything. You just need to like figure out what it is you want out of life and how to get there.
Exactly. Which only you can figure out, which comes back to the start, is if you create space for it. If you create
Yes.
space for it, surrender. I pulled the surrender card this morning for my group for our Wellness Wednesday call,
Oh,
and
I love it.
got the surrender card, and everyone they're just like touche. Like, do you know, like, yeah, we're business owners. You're hearing this in the new year. Like, surrender, take space,
Mm.
take stock of where you're at, listen to the feedback that your body is giving you, that your business is giving you, that your friends and family are giving you. Like, if your kids are running around the house hectic, they're probably picking up on your energy. Like, it's all of that sort of stuff. So it's like create the space and just work it out your way. Like, you don't have to be what everyone else is doing.
Oh, I love it so much. So what are you bringing into 2025? What energy changes? What's going on for you next year?
Yeah, my kind of word for the year, or it's kind of more of a statement really, is 10x is better than 2x based off of the
Oh,
book.
I read that book this year. It's so good.
It's so good. It definitely, I think I read over 30 books this year. Some of them, I'm going to admit here, probably about 15 of them were trashy, smutty, chick lit.
I love it.
I'm looking at your enormous pile of books behind. I think you've clearly definitely read more books than me.
No, I do not claim to have read them all. I'm more obsessed about buying books than I am
Yeah.
about reading books. So I guilt out on the time. I'm just sitting there. I go, oh my God, I'm not being productive.
100%. So yeah, the 10x is better than 2x. One, from obviously the mindset of, it's actually more simple the more scaled you go, and it doesn't actually have to be harder. But also when it comes back to service, that's kind of been something that's really, keeps coming up for me. And whether it's just because of my background in sales or and service that I'm so passionate about it, but the service that I'm providing at the moment, how could we make that like 10x experience instead of a 2x experience? Like, okay,
Mm.
yeah, this might be great, but this would be so much better. And so, yeah, that's kind of more I guess my mantra is, 10x is better than 2x. And same for life as well. It's like, okay, cool, this is what my life looks like now. What do I need to let go of to 10x it? Because
Mm.
it's not adding more into my schedule. It's letting things go. It's letting go of, some bullshit beliefs I know I have that I had throughout this year. And I'm the only person that is responsible for those. I need to own it and get rid of them. Some bad habits. My sleep is atrocious. I will admit that. So sleep has been kind of like my number one thing to focus on this year, but will remain that for next year as well. So yeah, it's like, again, small little changes. They don't have to be hectic, but just small little changes that I know that will like 10 times the quality of my life and not just my business as well.
Oh my God, I think that's awesome. And I just love the statement that it's not always about adding things in. Again, I think it's that we tend to go, oh, I've got to be doing this and this and this and this and this. And it is that actually what are the things that I need to let go and leave behind so that it opens up space for the things that are actually going to make an impact.
Yeah, I would love people to put on their notebook at the top of every single day. How could I do less today? And
Mm,
go and cross 5 things off your list rather than put 5 things on there. Like, do you know what I mean? Because most of
yeah.
what's on there is like stuff that is, 6 months future you problem. And you're just causing yourself a little bit of a mind trap right now, for a nicer way to put it than what I was going to say.
Yep, I'm with you.
By putting it on there, like, I've even got it. I've got a urgent and an important, and in the important section, realistically, if it's not on the urgent list, it's not important.
Yeah,
It's the
it's
next
so
op-
true. I find so my strategy is I dump everything out of my brain and then I only use a post-it for the day. So you can only fit like three to
Yes,
five
I love
things
that.
on a post-it note. And that's my hack.
Hey, maybe that's something that I could implement and I could swap. I could do a swap hack here
Yeah,
because, like, if anyone was viewing this, you would see I have an A4 notebook.
love
Uh,
it.
I write large, and then really hard things that are on there. But yeah, a post-it note is probably a great idea. Is just narrow that down. Yeah, I love that.
Totally. And then it's like, then I stopped looking at the long to-do list because that's the problem. I'd find myself, so I write out the to-do list and then I find myself actually just reading off the items going, I have no fucking idea which one to pick, you know? And so if it is that, okay, well, what's really urgent? What have I got to get done today? That goes on the post-it note. And then we'll see if there's like bonus time or, maybe I could relax and enjoy my life. Mind blowing.
Yeah, exactly. Who would have thought, right? Oh, what do you mean I can leave the house? Oh, yeah, that's an option.
Oh my God, so good. I could talk to you all day, but let's wrap up the podcast with one last piece of advice. So, reflecting on your time in business, what would be one piece of advice that you would give to another woman on her business journey?
Don't go it alone. Like you don't have to go it alone. And that doesn't necessarily mean you know, you have to get a business mentor or anything. And I can say that because I am a business mentor. Like, there's, you know, it's not a pitch, but like, find your tribe, find your soul sisters. Like, obviously I've just connected with the Spark Girls, and I feel like you know, I've also just reconnected with like a new tribe, which is awesome. But, you know, from someone that runs a community, and when I first got to Perth and literally knew no one here, I've got no friends, no family here. The business women's community really showed up for me. But I had to show up to be a part of it. And so I just, you know, I just want people to know, like, you don't have to go it alone. It doesn't have to just be about business. There's so many people out there just like you. You just got to go and, you know, meet new people, and you can have so much fun.
I love it and could not agree with you more. I can't tell you how much getting through the bad days or the tough days, it's just community, coaches, mentors. Yeah, it's you really are not in this alone.
Absolutely.
Incredible, Harmony. Thank you so much for your time today, sharing your story and your insights and your wisdom. You are absolutely incredible. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Love it. Happy New Year to everyone.